Hey, welcome back to the Dust Storm, brought to you by Ethos Studios. I'm Ben Molini, and this is Kira and Ranch playing Shamara and Orden, respectively. And we are going to get into our next episode here. So, when last we left our heroes, they had gone into the dark. You had a well, maybe not a wide variety of choices, but you certainly had a choice to make. You had decided, for reasons that are apparently perplexing even to Belnil himself, to help that errant and uh, somewhat confused dwarf on his way to Hytos. And while he himself claims that he couldn't even tell you specifically why he needs to get there, he is certain that it is extraordinarily important. Also, he cast a little bit of light on what might be so critical about that the last time. I will uh, let you guys refer to your own notes or recordings as to exactly what that was, since I don't want to use too many adjectives about it that might have been out of place. But you've basically been faced with the choice of helping him continue overland, where he said he was being pursued by hundreds, if not thousands, of those strange crab skull monstrosities that are powered by archaic energy, or to descend, to go down below ground into the dark, which, as a dwarf, sure, he may have been biased a bit in favor of, but he did not know the way, was not sure that it would be certainly any faster to descend below ground, but might be out of the immediate gaze of the Archon, was, I think, the postulation there. So, weighing the options last night, you guys had decided to take the way down, despite the fact that also, just last night, undead had boiled up from the latrine there at the oh man,
Um,
can't believe I'm forgetting that, the Starlight. There you go. Yeah, boiled up from the latrine at the Starlight, and but you had dispatched them with comparative ease, and Shamara is no stranger to fighting the dead, so I suppose that seemed like the less threatening way to go. You guys had descended uncomfortably and perilously, in fact, through the latrine and down onto a kind of a rock shelf that clearly had been worked, maybe inexpertly, but that was deliberately placed to be a path to and from the deep part here of the world, and managing not to fall nor even get yourselves excessively soiled by the descent. You guys had gone down there, the two of you plus Belniel, and descended into pretty complete darkness. Now that's a problem of varying degrees for each of you, since Shamara and Belniel, presumably Belniel, but can see in the dark without too much trouble. For Orden, it is a problem, but a fixable problem, as he has evidently managed to manifest his own psychic energy into basically having minor spotlights for eyes. So for Orden, the world down here looks very much as if you were just holding two flashlights all together, and so you can see in kind of these narrow cones with darkness shrouding the edges of your vision at all times. Uh, and you had descended. You had gone on and down and down. You had made your way through a rocky area, through some pretty precipitous slopes and descents into, well, I mean, you might even call it a forest of these monstrous, oversized, and some normal sized, and some tiny, undersized mushrooms, into just a mist of spores and strange scents and bizarre atmospheric effects that seem to be taking their toll on you. That none of them were immediately poisonous, but they were adding up, and the cloying, strangely decaying effect of all of that was really creating a problem to varying degrees for all of you before you decided kind of arbitrarily that now is enough time. You certainly proceeded for miles under the ground, and it could be time to take a rest. And Belniel, although he says that, excuse me, he remembers very little directly of his time with the dwarves and what is presumably a lot of knowledge of being underground, he did say with some confidence that if you burn some of the cast-off husks of these giant mushrooms, that the smoke may be a bit of an antidote to whatever is consistently clouding the air with its own spores and offshoots. So you guys had settled down, and I believe when we left, Belneil was taking first watch, and you guys were doing your best to recover from yeah, I mean, honestly, a pretty difficult journey. Not maybe the most physically arduous that you've taken, but um, think about just walking into the dark for hours and hours on end, and the mental and physical toll that would take. So, you guys do anything special as you were laying down to sleep? I think you were, he was up on watch. There was a fire going, and you were sort of in the shelter of one of those great fungi.
No, I'm going straight to sleep.
Very good.
Just, yeah.
Shamara?
Probably just cast a look, once he closes his eyes, let my eyes adjust to the darkness and cast a look around, try and like see further than the light was illuminating, and then go to sleep after that.
Okay. Well, the character of the light in here changes a great deal, quite literally the moment that Orden closes his eyes, as it shifts from the luminous and brightly colored landscape to a still widely varying set of textures, but in grayscale, the moment that the light from his eyes is put out. And yeah, you look around, and Belneil just, he has his back to the fire, and he's kind of like idly slow pacing around it, just doing a 360 circuit of your little campsite here. You cannot see the ceiling of the cavern that you must be in.
Okay. After a moment of gratitude and sorry for the fire, she goes to bed.
Okay.
To the space around her, like the life around her.
Sure. Okay. Both of you make fortitude saves again. I'm gonna pet my cat like most people plotting murder.
A fortitude save, like the one I
Yes.
tried to buy, you wouldn't let me.
Yeah, just like that. Exactly like that, actually.
And so mean. Oh.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So, who had volunteered to take second watch? Had either one of you volunteered? Well, I haven't noted that you
No.
did. No.
I'm assuming he'll just wake one of us up.
I don't remember if we had set someone.
Okay. All right. So, an indeterminate period of time passes. Sleeping on the ground is not strange for either one of you. That part's not difficult. But Orden, you are woken up out of a pretty deep sleep, frankly, just by kind of a rustling, just like gentle but like a firm hand clamps down on your shoulder and just kind of does that a couple of times, and then you're still kind of coming out of it before it like does that again. And you can hear a voice not right next to your head but close to your ear, saying, "All right, I think it's someone else's turn now." And it is completely dark, the type of soul erasing darkness with which you are not generally familiar in your life.
Soul erasing.
Yeah.
I'll get it, Belneil. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. Suppose I'll stir the fire back up, shall I? And you can hear then from nearby like a bit of a rustling, and then honestly, the flash of any coals being uncovered is just immediately your vision is drawn to it as even tiny points of red light being scraped out from under what must be some ashes, and then you can see those being partially obscured as Belneil, with some confidence in what he's doing, presumably he can see, is placing them above the embers, and then as he starts to blow on them slightly, the light swells comparatively, and just the psychological effect of going from near complete darkness to having just something to focus on and give you a sense of like perspective and distance and size is immensely reassuring, just even to your lizard brain in the first couple of moments. So he's blowing on that and getting the fire going again. What are you doing?
I'm gonna wait for him. I'm gonna kind of like sit up, stretch, but I'm not gonna turn my eyes into beacons of light yet. I'm
Sure.
gonna wait. Kind of like let him do his thing, and then whenever I notice him kind of done moving with it, then
Okay.
I'll go ahead and stand up, try and go to the other side of the fire, and then I'll use my light to try and see stuff. So.
Shamara, you've been trying to sleep. The ground isn't bad. I mean, it's fine. It's no worse than you've been on before, right? But it's just it's the air and that smell. You keep like you'll drift off for a few minutes. It's hard to tell, and then just like wake up, like trying to take a breath in, and there's just like mucus all in your sinuses in the back of your throat, and you got to like stop and try not to, wake your brother there. But you've spent the last probably couple hours, feels like a day. You know what it's like when you're trying to sleep and you can't, and time is just passing at a crawl, and you've just got you know that on the you can see, I guess, when you open your eyes, there are just like globs of phlegm off to the side, away from the fire that you've had to just kind of hack up, and you are you really have not gotten any rest. You can still keep trying and everything, but you are technically fatigued at this point.
Okie dokie.
So when they're, moving around, you're already within a hair's breadth of being awake, as you have been for the last several hours anyway. So as the fire starts coming back up, you're aware of everything they're doing. You don't have to get up, but you're certainly conscious here. You do anything special? Or are you just gonna roll over and try again to get some actual rest?
Just gonna try again. I can't think of anything I could do to help.
Sure.
Right. It sounds miserable.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll try and put some tea on.
Okay.
If I'm awake and the fire has started, I have the stuff to cook some tea. So.
Gotcha. Okay. You have a pot or just a okay. All right. So.
Pot and tea and a water skin, 2 water skins.
Okay. It feels like it's been night for 2 days now, since you guys had slept for a night, then descended into darkness, walked all what must have been at least most of a day in darkness, and then have been trying to sleep. It feels like the night has just been dragging on, and both of you at least have that kind of like that surreal, woken up at 2 a.m. and don't know why you can't get back to sleep type of feeling, even though you do, right? You have factual answers for like why you're here and what's going on and why there hasn't been light for a while, but your lizard brains are
not less.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and we've all been there, right? When your lizard brain is kind of short-circuiting, not knowing why you're out of your rhythm or how to respond to this. But Orden, I mean, you notice as you kind of take a few steps away, put your back to the fire, close your eyes and focus for a moment, and then when you open them, you can see just twin shafts of light illuminating some bright purple spored or purple spotted mushroom that's about the size of a Volvo, or let's say a couple of horses from Orden's perspective, not to be anachronistic. And just staring at you across the way. But you blink a couple of times, and then you turn around and glance back toward the fire. Belneil is, has gotten a few of these husks. They're thin, they burn very quickly. He's gotten a few of them burning, and you see that Shamara, looking, pretty exhausted, has just sat up and is digging around in her pack. And you see her produce her pot and kind of go and put it over against, kind of bottom against the edges of the remaining coals there. Start pouring water into it. You do anything special? Or you guys just gonna do your best to pass the time?
I'll go on like not water. Let's see. Anywhere up to like maybe 50 yards away, kind of like in a patrolling manner, just because I don't want to like turn my head left and right, but just walk down the path, or if whatever path is available to me that I can see, in just kind of 50 yards in each direction,
Okay.
just to pass the time.
Sure. Alright. So, Shamara, when you start putting tea on, Belnail is settling back, and he watches you work, but he doesn't say anything right away. His bald head glints as the flames really start to catch on the house, and you can see that he's amassed a pretty good pile of them, of widely varying thicknesses, and they all seem to have the same kind of like gray-brown hue, but they're varying quite a bit in size and thickness, and I don't know what you should call it, but how much of a circular shape they have. That's like the worst way to say that. But
Circumference?
yeah, I guess, sure. Let's say that. Yeah. And, okay. But anyway, you can see that he's got a stack of them, built up there nearby.
Get the fire a little hotter if it's not already hot enough to boil water.
Yeah.
I'll ask him, you want some tea? Shamar is assuming that brother does.
One of the world's forgotten luxuries. I wouldn't want to take what little you must have, seeing as you're already doing me such a kindness.
We have today. Who knows what tomorrow's gonna look like? Let's drink some tea.
I drunk to far worse. And he says, kind of like it's like a reflexive joke, and then as he starts to kind of like laugh at it, there's a catch in his face, and he glances at the fire, and then he shakes his head. He says, I think I have. I don't know. Can't actually remember any of my own stories or the stories of my people. Couldn't sleep well. Is that it? Says, clearly trying to snap out of it a little bit.
I don't think I've slept. Just blows a snot rocket.
There's some orc shit. Yeah, you're making progress. Okay. Makes me nervous, breathing in all manner of things. Sure, my people have stories about it. We must. And if it was gonna kill us, I would have done so, I reckon.
I'm just hoping the tea makes me feel better and I can fall asleep.
Aye. I'm nowhere near to resting myself. I know I should try, and I will. But I wish I know stories about great and brave dwarves, and the way they learn their lessons about which mushrooms are dangerous and which ones weren't, but I don't. I do remember one though. Maybe because it's not my own people. You know the story of Ariel Three Feathers?
I do not.
Elven hero. Elven hero. This shouldn't make light, I suppose. Not at times being what they are. Have you heard of the Etheline? And doing the rain wall and all that?
Does she get to say
to you.
yes?
Up to you. Yeah, you can play if you know that story. Or if you don't, it's very widely shared.
I'm familiar with this story.
Yeah, well, the way I understand it, and I'm sure it's more complex because of elves and their high society. But Anduin the Rainwall, before the Cataclysm and that, he worked for Variel Three Feathers. So what does that tell you? I'm sure none of them really worked for one another. Anyhow, before that, before it had rained on the orcs or forsaken elves in falling cities and all that, it's a long time ago. Time that elves called the Harrow. Dark days for Quellenost. Yeah. Hard times all round. Hey, you see, it was thought before the Cataclysm that the Harrow was the last great vengeance of their old enemy, the elves' old enemy. I mean, the ones beneath the ground, who I'll not name. Well, it came in the form of a poison. By the way, Orden, you can hear all this as you're kind of pacing around. During the years of the Harrow, these great pits opened all through the forests of the elves. Things came forth and they sapped the life out of the old Alaran trees. It's, snakes and spiders, but also, slugs and worms and strange things came out of the dark and they just carried poison out across all the land. Old unknown monsters as well, sludgy flesh piles covered in mouths and chittering, clicking hoppers with no eyes and a passion for blood. And they all slouched up into the sunlight for the first time in an age. That was not the worst of it, though. The worst of it was the fungus.
Oh, that's reassuring.
Hey! Well, you see, for all those years, these spores floating through the air, they're spewed forth by these great open spores on the side of the land. You'd never know when it would strike. That fella told me that... They told me a story. I ought to be able to remember his name, shouldn't I? Well, they told me that he saw an elven lord or something stopped in the street, frozen, just in mid-stride. And my man went to check on him. No telling how long he'd been standing there. But when he went to touch his shoulder, just to ask if he was well, the poor creature, he just fell apart. In a dry, crumbling heap. Inside, he'd turned just to a dark purple mold. That was all. For others, it was different. Children be driven mad, breathe in something during the night, wake not being able to understand their own language, or worse, not caring to, and being possessed of a sudden bloodlust. Elves died, and those that lived in fear of one another, and of the night and of the very hour they breathed. Fucking hell, there's a name for them. The Rangers, the good ones, the Border Guard. They have a society all their own. I can't remember what it's called, but as you may well imagine, they fought bravely to preserve the woods. They couldn't keep the beasts in their holes, but they slew them by the dozens and by their hundreds in the forests. And the Atheline, too. The elites. They fought well, of course they did. I believe there are 4 of them in those days. I seem to know that, though I couldn't tell you the names. But warriors can only fight when there's an enemy, and it seemed that some sorcery had turned the air and the land itself against them. So, most say it was Variel who first conceived the idea to venture down into the pits. He was one of them, Atheline, then. The elite ones. not an unlikely source for a great leader, and he is known as an archer of some renown, even amongst such company as that. And with his words and his reputation, he persuaded the Speaker of the Suns. That's the big one down there. And the great Archmage Terralil, that they couldn't wait for an end of it. Warriors must be sent below, strike back, find the source of the evil. Well, Variel took 200 rangers with him into the blackness. The pits, they'd open and close without warning. There was no way to know if there's B1 there, or coming back, or if they'd ever come back, of course. 10 days they were gone. And when the man himself returned, it was with little more than 2 dozen. Never really understood this part. The way I heard the story, whatever he discovered down there, Variel that is, they just called him Variel back then, not the Three Feathers bit. He seemed to know something. Came back into the capital. They say it was cold that day in the tower. An unseasonable heat had been over the forest for years, but when Variel came back to the capital, you could see your breath swirling before you in the main chamber. Variel came with who remained of his men, and still covered in blood and filth and wasted and half-starved. And they had the Speaker there, and the Archmage, and all the, I think they call them the Assembled Voices, the ruling council, They stood on the dais to greet him, to welcome him back as heroes when they addressed him. Addressed Variel, that is. At first he neither moved nor he spoke. And many wonder still today, I do, what went through his mind when he drew his bow and knocked an arrow. Bloody strange thing to do there. I think most agree he hesitated. It was a string just slack in his hand, That he wept, surely. You see, I believe it's traditional for anyone who addresses the Speaker and the Assembled Voices to bring a gift to honor them. And so, when he arrived, Variel, he's still unspeaking, he raised his bow. They say, of course, the way the story goes, frost crackled through the stones around him. And the Bloody Ranger killed the Speaker in one shot. As he did, the body wasted away into brown spores scattered through the air. Terralil, Archmage, he tried to contain it. His magic is strong and quick, but even still, many of the Assembled Voices went mad before they could clear the room. They too had to be killed in their turn, as they were only murderous beasts from thenceforward. But the harrow ended that day. When Terralil announced that he had found the spell and the source of the magic and all that, knew where to look, and of course they'd let Variel out of the prison they'd thrown him into, and made him commander of the Etheline, who don't always, as I understand it, have a commander. But he always remained a melancholy figure. Even to his admirers. A strange thing, to be a hero that no one wishes to celebrate. No one wishes to remember that time, nor certainly whatever the treachery that the Speaker had been brought to. Variel was and remains a quiet necessity. A guide, unshakable even beyond the standards of the great trees of the elves. So, the way the story goes is you're supposed to end it by saying, of course, that it's traditional for anyone who addresses the Speaker and the Assembled Voices to bring a gift to them. And so he's named now after his gift to the Speaker. And, of course, then to the people. Variel, 3 feathers. Saddest gift ever given to Qualinost. I wish I knew some stories like that of my own people. Surely I did once.
Maybe you will.
Bloody melancholy. What's that?
Maybe you will get to again.
bloody melancholy story to tell. Sitting around a bunch of fun guy and their spores. Yeah. Right. I'd take a cup of that tea though when it's ready. Presuming you snot-rocketed away from the tea, not into it. Okay.
Just a funny Prosper. That's a nice follow-up to that.
Right. Yeah. Cool story, bro. Yeah. Alright. Well, presuming then that you give him a cup of the tea when it's ready. Yeah. All right. He seems to have been talked out, and he just sits there for a little while.
Hey, Shamara, you mind if I get a cup of that tea as well?
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Do want to remind you guys to, I mean, this counts as hydration certainly, but do
Take
check
out
your water
out of my
skins.
water skin.
Yeah, make sure that you're keeping track of the water you guys have.
So you put half my water skin into that.
Sure. 1 gallon. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep walking up and down, up and down. And when I get close to them, try not like point my eyes at them, you know?
Yeah,
Like stare at
respect.
them.
Sure. Good camping rules. Don't point your flashlight at other people.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
I'll try and sleep again after I have
Okay.
my tea and try and like kind of, like bring that like warm moisture up through your sinuses and it helps you feel
Yeah.
better. Maybe it'll help loosen it up and blow it really good and then try again to go to sleep and like put my blanket over my face.
Sure. Okay. All right. Go ahead and make another fortitude save, and Orden, if you're on watch, make a perception check.
All my grow lights are going out. I have to supplement my light now.
No problem. Did your perception check come through here?
13.
It's not loading for me. Maybe I need to refresh. Do that. There it is. Okay. Yep. I just needed to get back in. Alright. Cool. 20 on that. Okay, cool. Very good. Yeah. Alright. So, some time passes. Shamara, yeah. The tea helps. Could be the fact that Belniel doesn't really seem to sleep. I mean, Orden, you're kind of keeping an eye on him, right? Just trying to do it indirectly. But you see him, he's got his back, against the trunk of that giant mushroom under which you guys are sheltered. And he's, every once in a while his head kind of drifts down, but inevitably he starts back up, snorting a few moments later. Seems like he's trying to rest, but it's not going great for him. But do you keep your eyes out? Not much moves, not much changes. It's remarkably static down here. There are no crickets, no cicadas. Not that there have been up above for a while now either, but there is occasionally some wind. It blows through.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. Doesn't always blow in the same direction either. But yeah, that clears the air occasionally. from time to time. But also, I suppose, Orden, if you're walking kind of out a little ways away from the fire, you should make a fortitude save as well.
Oh, again, huh?
Yep. Ah, if only that were one higher. I'm joking. Yeah. All right. So I don't remember if I told you last time or not, but I know that we gave you the sicken condition, but that was, I should have specified that for Orden that would have been removed while you slept. For Shamara, it was not. But yeah, Orden, you do not. I mean, it doesn't feel great or smell great out there, but it's not debilitating to you.
Okay.
And just make a quick roll or two here. Being mysterious. Okay. Cool. So yeah, Orden, you pass a few hours. I mean, it's got to be a few hours. It's really hard to tell time down here.
Mhm.
But then again, you've also been spending a lot of time in a blank and featureless wasteland here, traveling around for a while with no moon and no stars to help you tell time either. So you can say with some certainty that it's been at least a few hours. Shamara seems like she's actually getting some rest now. She's not squirming around, hocking up phlegm every couple of minutes. And it looks like Belniel, not getting to sleep, is continually tending the fire, so they're always very easy to spot, even when you wander away a little ways. And he's keeping, apparently, a pretty good smoke column going up around there, which presumably helps with the air quality.
Okay.
All right. After a few hours, what do you do?
I'm gonna let Shamara continue sleeping, so I'll walk back to the fire, and then
Yep.
just kind of like I've been walking for those past few hours, so kind of like bend down, warm up by the fire.
Okay.
Bell, no, can't sleep, huh?
Can't, no, he says, trying to keep his voice, generally a little quiet.
I mean to ask you. Whenever you try to remember your past, what actually do you think about? Is it blank?
Oh, it's the strangest thing. It's, if you ask me, Belniel, where were you raised? I'm not confused. I say, oh, of course. Well, actually, I was raised. And I said, I don't feel unsure. I don't feel as if I don't know, but just as if I can't bring the word to mind. It's that way about a great many things. It's just like I said. I mean, I can remember people telling me stories. Not the rooms they were told in, though. I don't know. It's bloody strange.
Very unsettling. Can't imagine what it feels like.
No. You're going to rest a bit more. Serve you well. Soon, I expect.
No, I'll stay up for another hour or two. I want Shamar to get rest. She needs it.
Right, sure. He just exhales heavily and stares into the fire.
Stay there for another, like 3-5 minutes, kind of try and warm up my body as best I can, and
Sure.
continue the walk.
All right.
But not go as far this time. I'm kind of like about 15 yards, so like that.
All right, cool. Make one more perception check.
I see everything.
Perfect that Kira has stepped away for a moment. Unless, Kira, can you hear us?
I can, but I can stop listening.
Okay, yeah, if you wouldn't mind going on mute
Yeah.
for a second.
Look at me taking my headset off.
Like that. I got you. Alright. So you're out there. You're staying pretty close. You know, walking around, just doing a slow circuit. And everything's so still here. You can occasionally see little motes, which are probably spores, you know, floating in the air when you cast your light across a couple of mushrooms. But at one point, an indeterminate period of time later, might be an hour, might be 2, you are on the same slow circuit. You are downhill of your, I mean, it's a gentle slope moving down, but you guys had been progressing downhill, so that is to say that you're further along the direction that you guys had been walking. And you're, you know, just kind of gently scanning the darkness, and you don't see anything. And then you hear a sound. It sounds like a kind of a very soft, dry, tearing sound. And you just instinctively whip your head to the side, looking off to your left, and you see at first it looks like a dwarf. You only see it for a second. It might have been a dwarf. It really might have been, except it was dead white. And it looks like it fell off of the cap of some maybe 5 foot tall mushroom. You can see it there. You can see the piece of fungus like laying maybe 3 feet long, 2 feet wide that had fallen. It's still kind of like shaking on the ground. And you just get an image of a vanishing figure with a natural 20. And you see that it had some kind of strange iridescence about it, other than being just dead pale white. And the back of its skull was caved in with like brain matter leaking down the side. But it scrambled away very quickly. You just caught a glimpse of it.
I investigate.
How?
So how far, like, so off to the left, right? So I'm like on this little path, right?
Sure.
And then going downhill, it's off to the left. Is it like a ravine down there?
No. So it's a very broad, gentle slope downward.
Okay.
And there isn't like a path necessarily, but yeah, you had just kind of been weaving between these mushrooms. So if you think of 12 o'clock as the direction that you guys have been walking yesterday, and you stopped along that, this is at probably 10 o'clock, and just a little ways down the slope. I mean, your light only really extends, 40 feet dim? Is that right?
I believe it's 20 feet bright light, and then at 40 it's normal, and then everything beyond that.
Okay. Well, you, yeah, so would have been within 40 feet of you.
I
What do you do?
want to go check it out.
Okay. You walk over there?
Yeah.
Alright.
But I want to like, I'm on alert mode, right? So I'm not
Sure.
just like, I'm not honed in. I'm like
course.
checking other tops of mushrooms real quick that are close by me. You know, see
Yeah.
if I see anything else like that.
Alright. I mean, the ground is mostly rocky. There is actually just a thin scrim of soil over the top of the stones here. And so the fall of that big piece of mushroom, which is actually very light despite its size, so light it actually apparently couldn't support the weight of whatever creature was on it. And you can see where it had torn off, and the sort of vertical striations of whatever like tubes and channels run inside of this big mushroom here. And the scent is actually pretty strong as you come up there, looking around. You look at the side of the vegetation here that have been torn off, and there's not. If there are footsteps here, they're not obvious. And other than the concrete proof that something was here, because there's a piece of that mushroom torn off, you might have imagined it. So you stand there for a moment doing that.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. You need to make a will save.
Best one. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, baby.
All right. You are looking around, standing there, yeah, just kind of frowning into the darkness with just the bright beams of your gaze sweeping left and right, up and down, all around you. And then you turn, and you see what looks like a human with a gaunt, long face, jaw hanging open, bottom teeth protruding, like all of them, a little bit, in just a yawn that looks hungry and ferocious, and the furthest thing from human, despite otherwise the features of this creature being mostly humanoid, has a bald head and a long, pronounced nose, and it is looking at you with a bright, wide, feral gaze. This huge surge of fear goes through you, and all your brain tells you to do is run, and you tense up, but control yourself.
I'm gonna yell, "Wake up!"
All right. Let's text Shamara here. And
I'm in danger.
yeah, right. Okay.
Told you I was fighting, you know. So.
Did say that. Let's see.
Hi.
Hey. So that's all right. All right. So, Shamara, you were sleeping. You have fallen into a deep, exhausted sleep, and it is dreamless and restorative. As an indeterminate period of time passes, and then you are suddenly brought shockingly awake by the sound of unmistakable sound of Orden's voice, and no one else is going, "Wake up!" from somewhere in the near distance.
Okay.
The fire's still going. You open your eyes, and Belneil is like blinking and getting up onto his feet as well, reaching for his own weapon.
Yeah, she's never far away from her mace and shield.
Yeah. Okay.
I grab that and we'll try and figure out which direction, if I can know which direction he was, or look around for him or whatever.
Yeah. No, it came from, you guys are on a long, gentle slope, so it came from downhill. Basically the direction that you had been going, and a little bit off to the left. And yeah, Belneil is, like, just clearly disoriented as well, but grabbing his weapon, starting to kind of hustle off in that general direction.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So let's see here. Make a roll real quick. Never mind. No commentary. Something. That's fine.
Oops.
Orden, you need to make a reflex save. Actually, hang on. That's not fair. You should roll initiative first. And I know we're not on a battle map yet, and I will transition us there when we need to be, but I just want to... we should be able to do these things in the right order.
Are we still getting there, or do we roll initiative right now too?
For this action, I just wanted to see who would act first. That's a 9. Damn it. What's your dexterity modifier?
2.
God damn it! Just roll again.
Matt wins.
Okay. There's a from that yawning mouth. There's like a coughing sound, and then all of a sudden you hear several just like soft darts hitting or several hard darts hitting the soft flesh of the vegetation around you, and a couple thud into you. That you should make a reflex save for.
What the fuck is happening?
Thanks.
Bruh. Okay. So. Okay.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, everything's fine. This is fine.
Oh my god. It's the scariest thing I've heard all day.
Right. Okay. Hang on. Hey, you know what? I don't need to type this out because I think it's going to be pretty quick. Okay, you take 2 damage, and you need to make a fortitude save. I really didn't. It did not occur to me that you were going to be making this many fortitude saves when you asked to buy one earlier.
I know, this is messed up.
That was all off camera, so it doesn't count. Quick note for those of you who are enjoying our story and the mechanics: since our players do not have classes, they are subject to individual purchases. So before every session, they ask me, "Hey, I've got enough experience to buy a new attack bonus, or a skill point, or a saving throw base modifier, or something like that." And Orden asked me before this session if he could buy a point in fortitude saves, and I was like, "No, you already have one, not yet." But he's building the case right here. 14. Let me see. 15. All right. Anyway, a couple of those little darts thud into you. One of them hits you kind of on the inside of the arm, just at a joint in your armor. Another one hits off like your shoulder. Doesn't seem to penetrate. Yeah, and then the thing you saw just visibly turns, and disappears away from you into the darkness, quickly exiting the range of your vision. What are you doing?
I'm following it.
Okay. Well then, all right. Then everybody should
Yeah.
roll initiative here.
We don't.
So-
Can we see?
No, not yet. So you guys are running that way. He's a little ways away. You could see, certainly, since his eyes are emitting light, you can see the direction that you need to be going, right? You can't really clearly see what's happening, but any light down here
We have
flickering
night
around
vision
is...
up to 60 feet, but
Right.
all right. So he's that far away. Okay. Well,
No,
I'm
yeah,
running.
you can see him. You can see where he's at. You can't see him physically. So let's put you guys into the initiative order. Let's do that. And I don't know where exactly this would end up, so I don't have a good battle map to put you guys on. So let me give you figurines just so we can put you in the initiative order. And I'll just put them up here. This is a clumsy way to do this, but this is me learning.
You do want to fight, Matt. Or Ranch, I'm sorry.
Alright. So we're gonna put you guys in the initiative order, and then
I just
He
see
drew
you
fir-
running
he
away.
drew he drew first blood. You know, I don't have a choice.
That's funny.
What happened?
Oops. That. Good. Excellent. Okay. All right. So remind me, Ranch, what your initiative was.
It was 9.
9. Very good.
Oh wait, I had to re-roll for that, so it became a 7.
That's right. Okay, but 9 is the first one is what will stick. So. Okay. And then
I will.
yes. So Shamara and Belneil should also roll initiative. Cool. 15. Very good. And then Belneil zone. Cool. All right. So we'll count that one as the surprise round. So the next round will begin at the top with Shamara, and you are. What are you doing?
Running. Like, booking it.
Run that way. Gotcha. All right. So you can't go in a straight line, right? Because the sort of mushroom forest here is a little too difficult to navigate. You can take a double move though. So how far will that carry you?
60 feet. Or 30 feet per. So, are we talking? Oh, yeah. Not 4 times, just 2 times. 60.
Right. That's it. Yeah. If you had a straight line, you can just sprint,
Gotcha.
right? But in here, yeah, dodging around 60 feet. Okay. So double move. Belneil is right behind you. He is not quite as fast as you are, so you do start to pull away from him pretty quickly, particularly on the turns. But you can hear him struggling along behind you. Then all right, you come up like through the forest. He's easy to track. You can tell even before you can see him. You can tell exactly where Orden is, just because his eyes create such a beacon down here that it's easy for you to navigate where he's not looking, but it's also easy for you to spot him. And you can see him. He's kind of like shied back, and then he just whirls, like raising his own weapon. And you draw up Shamara. Excuse me. Within about 20 feet of him, you're like running up on him from behind. Orden, you can hear Shamara and Belneil coming, just hustling, scrambling down the slope to, I think it's a very gentle slope, but scrambling towards you, just to try to get there. And then as you saw that...
He probably sounds like a rhino anyway.
Yeah, right, yeah. What are you doing? Orden.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
How far away is the creature now?
So it had vanished from your immediate sight, just into the shadow of a mushroom thing, and moved an indeterminate distance after that. You do not have a direct eye on it at this point. You know the direction it went, but that doesn't mean it didn't, turn or something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go running in the direction.
Okay. So I guess one move at a time, right? Since you don't exactly know what you're making a beeline for, but what's your movement speed?
I believe it's 20.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you hustle forward, casting your eye light around in all directions. Make a perception check. You actually don't see any traces of it. You hustle forward, looking around. It's just dark forest. Little scrim of dirt. Darkness.
And yeah, and after that, I'll kind of look around, puzzled, like on edge, and then just try and listen. So I'm gonna yell back behind me like, "Hold still."
Okay.
And then just wait, and yeah, and if they listen, so we'll see.
Okay. No worries. So single move, and then call back. Just free action. Kira, it's your turn.
Do I hear him? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you ran like right up behind him, and then he's hustling forward a little ways, but you're faster than he is. So like, yeah, he hustles away, but you're still gaining on him. And then you can hear him say that. Just call out behind him.
Yeah, I'll slow down, like, if I'm not too far away from him.
Yeah.
And stop. Look around.
Okay. You should make a perception check as well, and then I guess at that moment, if you pause, Belneil is kind of hustling forward. He's a bit further away, but he is still coming on.
And
So.
that's actually a +3 because I bought a point in it.
Oh, cool. All right. Okay. And Ranch, you should make another perception check at the same time. Okay. You guys just stand there, about 40, 50 feet apart. Orden, you can't really see Shamara. You know she was coming after you. You could hear her, and you can hear her slow down, and draw to a halt. But in the otherwise near complete silence, you can actually each hear the other one like breathing heavily, even from a distance. And of course, Belneil, as he, lumbers up to Shamara, looking around. He doesn't say anything, but he stops there, since she stopped, and he's blinking around, scanning the darkness. It is once again preternaturally quiet. And there is almost no sound.
I'll wait like another 30 seconds or 20, 30 seconds. And if I don't see anything, then I'll say something, but I'll wait for other people to do stuff.
Okay.
I'm just kind of watching him, and then mostly watching the darkness. Like, I don't know what happened. I'm waiting.
Okay. Belneil waits too. That, say 45 seconds goes by.
Okay. And then still staring there, I'll just say, we need to head back to the fire. We're leaving.
What happened?
I'll tell you as we pack up. And then, or as we're walking back,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Or yeah, Belneil falls in with you, just looking at you questioningly.
I can't describe what I saw, but well, I was walking down the path, and I saw a dwarf that wasn't a dwarf. It's hard to describe.
Belneil frowns.
And the weirdest thing, as it turned around, it had half its skull missing out the back of his head.
Oh.
That's not the worst part. The worst part I turn around and I see something human-like that's not human. Its jaw hanging down. It shot these dots. Take out, the darts as I'm walking
There.
out.
They are tiny. They
Tiny.
look kind of dark, chitinous, and they are covered in like a thin black liquid.
And then kind of hand it over to Shamara and then one to Belnil. Just be like,
He's got
Be
one
careful.
sticking out of his armor. He has to dig another one out of his arm.
Ugh. Okay. Yeah, I want to make like a heal check or knowledge nature if I can, but probably not.
You can make a heal check, certainly. I mean, when you do that, yeah, Shamara says, she probably says it less cute than Kira did, but she's like, ugh. And as you're like digging that one out of your elbow.
She, like roughly grabs your arm to like look at it closer.
As you guys are coming up to the fire.
so I know I'm not losing my mind. This thing is shooting dots. At first I was confused, but I'm not staying down here. I don't give a shit how tired I am or how tired you are. We're leaving.
I feel better, right?
Yeah, so you have had a chance to get some proper rest. You are no longer sickened, but you definitely haven't had a chance to get a full night's sleep, so you are still fatigued.
I feel better than I did.
Belnil. This dwarf, it was... it was almost glowing. Not bright, but it was white, pale as the moon. I don't know if you can remember anything. Have you heard of anything like that?
And he frowns and he says, I feel the same that I feel as though you'd asked me where I lived. I know the answer, I'm sure I do. I just don't know what it is. Do you mean that? Do you mean that it had a small head or something, or do you mean it was grievous wounded?
Thing should not have been walking around. Brain matter coming out of its head.
Ooh.
Aye. More of the dead then. He says, picking up his own pack and stowing his weapons.
From the direction we're going.
We're not going back, but we've got to stay on our feet for as much as possible.
Aye. I've no notion what to expect. But that much, I suppose, we would have been wise to foresee. It doesn't seem like the dead, though, to run. If they see you, don't they come? Reaching for your flesh and all that.
Unless it's to go get more of them. Maybe it
Aye,
was
perhaps.
smarter. Which is terrifying.
Control. Smart how? Got no brain.
Why didn't it attack you?
Oh, Shamara. It's not gonna attack me. But that other thing did. Whatever monstrosity shot these dots at me and ran away. That thing is what I'm really afraid of.
And that was the dwarf?
No, that's the closest thing you can call to a human that's not human. A dead, a sorcerer, some... I don't know. Pick up my pack and kind of if people aren't ready to go, just be like teetering on and being like, let's get it going.
Yeah. I put out the fire, get my pack ready.
Okay.
Next time we're camping in a dangerous place, I need you to not get so far away, little brother.
I can take care of myself, Shamar. You know that. You taught me. All right. I won't get so far away. It was your watch anyway. Only reason I was there is because you were so
Why
tired.
didn't you wake me?
Well,
I
you were
didn't
so
ask for that.
exhausted. You were making tea. You barely had your eyes open. By the way, you never make tea that bad. It wasn't as good as it usually is.
By the way, your tea sucked.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
Can I
So,
see the skin
yep.
of his arm or no?
So yeah, looking at it, sorry, with that check, I mean, yeah, you grab it and look. Yeah, he got some type of like spine. It looks like it's a very small puncture wound. It's kind of deep. It is still bleeding, and you're faintly reassured to see that the blood looks just clean, like a normal crimson. There's a little bit of like a stain kind of down around the bottom of his arm where you might be whatever that coating was. But as to whether any of it got into his system or not, it's just impossible to say at this point. It's a very minor wound. He's certainly shrugged off worse. He's not really in any immediate danger from it. It's just like a little dart that's stuck into his bicep. So that's all you can tell from a quick glance.
I heard water down the hill, down the slope when we were down there. That's where they came from.
No,
What they went to, anyhow.
it was much closer.
Belneil's got his own pack on. That's the way we're bound. I have a notion that the dead don't love running water. If we could make our way along that, perhaps we could outdistance them.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Well, if it ran away from him alone, hopefully it won't want to fight the three of us. Let's just be ready for that, though. I'll go up front. She's
Aye.
definitely got her shield and mace out.
Okay. And Belneil's gonna follow her. Borden, are you
I'll be in back.
in back? Okay.
But I'm doing my patented, make sure I step around, look to the left, make sure I step around, look to my right. Every let's say 15, 20 yards, 30 yards, something like that.
I mean, you should be clear on that if you're gonna patent it.
Okay, let's do every 30 yards.
Noted.
Okay.
For the clerks. All right. But definitely, okay. Definitely keeping your eyes out in all directions. Understood. Okay. Cool. Need to, I would say, let's take a quick break here.